You're listening to Oilers Nation Radio, presented by the Nation Network. Subscribe for free on iTunes, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Thank you, British lady. Love the $5 we spent on that.
$5. It was $5 plus tax.
It's called a fin. That's what they called it back when I was going to school. You got a fin. Can
quick
I borrow
fin?
a fin?
Well,
What?
For a quick
What
fin,
year
you
was
can get
this?
a somewhat British, English, South African lady to
She
read
was-
your podcast intro.
Yeah, she was from New Zealand, I think. And I requested her finest Australian accent. It wasn't her finest work.
If there's one thing that people from New Zealand love, it's being called Australian. Welcome to Oilers Nation Radio, episode 42. I want to start off, as always, by thanking our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Go ahead and follow them on Twitter at Sherwood Ford and on Instagram at SherwoodFord_the Giant. A very special thank you to everybody who donated for Racing for a Cure. They held that event last weekend. Jay was out there representing. Got to wear his brand new suit from Indochino out to their event, their gala. Looked sharp. Love seeing the kids hanging out in the Nation truck. Looking sharp. Super clean.
We crushed the goal. We surpassed that goal of 2000. It was like in the 11th hour. The Nation came through, as they always do. It was amazing to see.
So we had a team entered to raise money for Racing for a Cure, as Dan just mentioned. At first, we actually started at about $500. Then we crushed that. Then $1,000, crushed that, moved over the $2,000 mark. Thank you very much to everybody at the Nation that listens to these things, reads the site, and helps us with our charitable initiatives. And thank you to Sherwood Ford for looping us in on a great cause. Happy to help, happy to promote, happy to be a part of what you guys got going on. Gentlemen, how are you all? To my left is Dan. Across the table is Cam. Rick on the other side as well. And to my right is Tyler Yaremchuk. We are going to start talking about the NHL Draft, which was last weekend. Last week's episode we recorded on a Thursday to preview the draft and give it a little bit of love before the Oilers went up. And as you all know, they went up and picked Broberg at 8th overall. Interesting pick. We all talked about it last week. None of us thought it was going to happen, I don't think. Everybody thought that was just kind of chatter in the media, a little bit of fodder. That wasn't going to happen. But as it turns out, somebody leaked what they were going to do, and they did exactly what the local media thought. Dan, your thoughts on the Broberg pick at 8th overall?
It's one of those things like I think we all said it on Thursday too, where it's like if we pick Broberg, hopefully we've moved back in the draft and then it makes sense. And especially with I can't remember the German kid's name that
Moritz
Stevie Yzerman.
Seider.
Yeah,
Cedar.
when he
Moritz.
grabbed him, I thought, oh man, we're gonna have Zegras, you're gonna have Caulfield, you have your pick of the riches there. And the Oilers still stuck to their guns. Kenny Holland loves his Swedish defenseman. So I get that side of things. And the other positive I'm taking from it is the fact that we have the most defensive depth in Edmonton we've probably ever had in my lifetime for sure. It's something that we have never had as a strength. So Broberg only makes that better, and having that depth also allows us to wait on a guy like Broberg to develop into the Hedman type that we hope he can be.
Cam, your thoughts?
I thought it was a little puzzling. I mean, I guess you have to just kind of trust Ken Holland. He's had a pretty good drafting record in the past. I mean, like everybody was saying, he knows his Swedish defenseman. He found Nicholas Lidstrom, so fair enough. But it just seemed a little odd to me. There was, a seemingly perfect fit in Trevor Zegras right there, like a right shooting good forward that could probably step in right away. But, I guess, what do I know? I've never really watched any of these players, so I really have no clue. I guess you kind of got to trust Ken Holland and hope that he hits the nail on the head, because with these, big, good skating Swedish defensemen, if they do pan out, then you have yourself like a franchise-changing player. So hopefully it works out.
We have a plethora of defensemen now, so I understand that the way he was looking at it. Going in, I thought it was going to be a Caulfield, somebody who could score some goals. But I guess, you know what, if you think about it, nobody was going to play this year anyways. So I'm not horribly upset about it. I see the upside to this. I'm going to be Mr. Optimism, and I'm going to get behind it, say, you know what, I like this. We got a really good pick in the second pick. He's going to help out down the middle there, get that big right-hand shot. That's the type of guy that I wanted to see, so that was a good part. But, I'm going to get on board here. I'm going to go behind Holland. I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going I'm going to support this move. We have now a lot of strength at D, which allow us to make some moves. And in the long run, I still think Holland has some moves coming forward in after July 1st that allowed us to make this defenseman pick.
So you're telling me right now that Holland already has his trigger ready to trade Nurse for Nylander, and Broberg is going to make the team next year.
That's what you're saying. No, he's got something.
That's what you said.
He's got something ready to go. And you don't need to even push Broberg. You've got Jones there. You may have Persson. You may have Lagesson. You may have Bear. Even without Samorukov, Bouchard, and Broberg, you still have 2 to 4 guys who are on track to push an NHL job. So at the end of it, Ken's got something coming after Monday that's going to open things up for us.
I think Uffe Bowden from Elite Prospects offered up a little scouting report on Broberg prior to the pick. He's seen him play a lot over the last couple of years, and his analysis was high risk, high reward. He's got some great physical tools, but seems to lack hockey IQ. If he gets everything together, he could be a superstar, but he could also be a third pairing D-man. Tyler?
Teams need third pairing D-mans.
The Oilers have a lot of them.
That's all we have.
I don't mind it as much as I was maybe against it early. And the one thing with all those kids from the U.S. National Development Program, they aren't all going to be superstars. I don't think we're going to be looking in 5 years and going, wow, all 9 or however many of them that got picked in the first round, they all panned out. It was so great. Like, to quote my good friend Lowtide, someone's zooming someone. Someone's getting the easy matchups at third line center and racking up points because of it. Someone's riding shotgun with someone who's way better than them and just piling in the goals or getting 2 minutes a night on the power play. Like, someone is getting a lot more credit than they deserve. So on one hand, I almost credit the Oilers for having their list and sticking to it. They might have had guys like Dylan Cousins or Kirby Dach. They might have had those guys higher than Broberg, but they weren't there. And even though someone like Zegras, who a lot of people thought would go 6, 7, 8, ended up falling, if the Oilers had Broberg ahead of him, I almost credit them for not panicking and just being like, oh, this Zegras guy fell. We got to jump on that. Because, I mean, on one hand, that is kind of what they did with Puljujärvi, not to get too far off track. And that kid they picked in the second round, Raphael Lavoie, big, I mean, Dan, Halifax Moosehead, so shout out to you.
Wait, Dan lived in Halifax?
I did.
You live in Halifax?
Oh.
Okay. I think, sorry, not to interject, but I just think the Lavoie pick softens the blow of the Broberg.
I need you to French that up a little bit, please.
Is it Lavoie or Lavoie?
Lavoie.
I think it's Lavoie. Raphael Lavoie. That's a guy who scored 20 goals in 23 playoff games in the queue as a draft-eligible guy.
And he's a tall drink of water, too.
But he was also a late birthday, so he was 18 years old playing in the queue that year.
Still, though, 20 goals in 23 games, that's something that even if you're a 20-year-old at that level, you're looking at and going, that's really
those
impressive.
are the kind of numbers that you put up in your beer league.
Yeah, actually, that's a fantastic point as well. But I look at him like a right shot winger. I think in a couple of years, I don't think he's going to need like terribly long to develop. In a couple of years, I think you're looking at a guy there who could seamlessly slide up to the NHL the way someone like Alex DeBrincat did. There was talk that Montreal was going to take him at 15.
Well, so I was covering the draft for ON on the weekend, and I wrote about Lavoie when they picked him up at 38. It was interesting to see how he was kind of the reverse of Broberg in a sense of just where he went relative to the lists and rankings and mock drafts and blah, blah, blah. Because like you said, Tyler, a lot of people had him kind of mid to late first round, and he ends up sliding to 38. And as I'm putting everything together, looking at the scouting reports, looking at his highlight packs, man, the kid's got hands. He can play, and he's huge. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes. And with Ken Holland in town, you know they're going to slow play him. He's going to go back to junior again. Probably rip it up, then turn pro and see what happens. But all in all, I think those first 2 rounds were pretty good for the Oilers. I mean,
it's definitely a win.
I don't know.
Big win.
Tyler said it last week, I think, where the reality is I've seen scouting reports and highlight packs on these kids, but that's it, right? So the Broberg pick was a little bit weird given that Zegras was still on the board. However, I'm smart enough to realize I don't know jack shit.
You remember what Crosby's wingers? Who are Crosby's wingers? I know Dan knows this. Who are Crosby's wingers in Rimouski?
Are you going to take a shot at
Marc-Antoine Pouliot?
But these guys came out. Everyone's like, you know what?
Roussel.
These are the guys you want to jump on. And they were just kind of riding shotgun. They were just kind of a part of it. So there are going to be some of the 7 or 9 players on that U.S. team who were kind of got drug along. And at that point, you want to pick one of the. You're really risking things by letting this defenseman slip away.
To Bag Milk's point, though, we really don't know anything. And so at the end of the day, when we're armchair GMing this, you're just saying that for the Broberg pick, you wish that Holland could have preyed on somebody else's excitement over Zegras dropping and moved back a couple spots, get an asset out of that, get another second-round pick, and maybe get another.
There's a chance that wasn't even an option.
Oh no, and that's what I'm saying. We don't know.
From watching everything, Holland was all over that floor talking to everybody.
Absolutely.
So I think he had a good feel for who was out there and what everybody wanted. And he jumped on the pick that he wanted.
No, exactly. I'm just saying, with an armchair GM perspective, you just hope that there was that conversation.
The other thing you'd have to be worried about, like, if the Oilers look at Philip Broberg and if their scouts legitimately tell them, like, hey, this guy is going to be a top pairing or at the worst a top 4 guy, and you go, okay, there's a chance we can get him at 12, and you know what, Minnesota, they're offering us a second-round pick to move up 4 slots. On one hand, is it worth that second-round pick to slide? And then what if Vancouver goes, Broberg's our guy too, and then you lose Broberg, and then you're sitting here 6-7 years from now going, well, like, we got Caulfield at 12, and he's an okay middle 6 undersized winger, and oh great, now we have the second round pick that flamed out, and Broberg's out here playing 22 a night in Vancouver. Like, I do think you need risk and reward. Like, it's easy to say, oh, just drop back and pick up an asset too, but there is a tangible risk to that, especially if you believe Broberg is the guy.
Well, depending on whose list, even if you're going strictly by lists, mock drafts and rankings and all that shit that we all tend to do around draft time, Broberg wasn't really that big of a reach. He averaged in around 12 to 16. EP had him at the lowest I could find at 29. So, okay. I mean, they didn't go off the board as much as Yzerman did in Detroit with Moritz.
Cedar?
Moritz.
This is not like Thomas Hickey, like 4th overall.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knew after the first 2 guys, the draft's a total crapshoot. Like, anything can happen. Like, the difference between these players is so marginal at this point. I think a lot of it ultimately comes down to your player development too, right? Like, the guys you're grabbing right now, I bet you could argue that Trevor Zegras is a more refined player right now as an 18-year-old or whatever. But, I mean, it's all about the package and the projection and what you can develop the skill set into. And, I mean, if the Oilers can develop Broberg properly, they probably have themselves a top pairing D-man, which is better than a middle 6 winger.
And to counter Ufe there, I was listening to the Low Tide on Monday, and they had Corey Pronman on. And he gave his assessment on Broberg, which was completely different, which gave me a lot more promise behind it. You know, things kind of went downhill for him in the second half of his season. He lost his power play time, never really got back to that again. He's out there playing with men, so yeah, you know, if his IQ doesn't look great, well, he's out there playing with men, and he's not exactly there yet. When he plays against his own peers, he looks very, very good.
Because he was top D-man at the World Juniors, wasn't it?
Something like that,
which is like the exact same age Oscar
and
Klefbom
but things went downhill for him after that, right? That's when he got sick and stuff. And yeah, no, if you just listen to Pronman after listening to it, I was much more behind this pick.
The only counter I would say to the Pronman thing is Ufe's actually watched him play.
Yeah. I mean, so is Pronman. Pronman watches these guys like religiously throughout the season.
Yeah, he does. No doubt.
And it wasn't the World Juniors, it was the U18s, Broberg. Because there was talk, like, before the U18s, he was kind of almost like a no-name. Like, people were like, mid-second, late second. And then he just, like, burst onto the scene at the U18s, and that's what really shot him into the first-round talent. There is something, too, I think, when these guys play against men overseas, that just has them maybe even a little bit more primed. Like, I don't know. There is a big difference between playing in juniors against your age and ripping it up, and even just being competent and in the lineup in these pro leagues overseas.
Do you think that, speaking of which, do you think he's going to go, if you're just to guess, obviously we don't know yet, they're talking about the options, is he going to stick in Sweden or come and play for Steve Staios' Hamilton team in the CHL?
I really think he should just go back overseas. If that's where he's comfortable, like, on one hand, let him pick, and if he really wants to come to North America and play in the OHL, then sure, why not? But I just don't see very much of a downside. Unless you read the situation with AIK and go, you know what, he's not going to get playing time there or something like that, then maybe you bring him over and tell your buddy Steve Staios, hey, you're playing this kid 20, 25 a night. But if he can go play against men and play 19, 20 minutes a night, get power play time, I think you send him back.
I like the idea of going and physically grabbing Steve Staios by the collar and saying, you need to play this guy 37 minutes a night, or so help me God, I will kick your ass.
You teach him the ring it around the boards. for the Steve Staios
You
breakup.
telling me you don't want Broberg learning how to get down and block shots from steady Steve Staios?
Every
Is that what you're telling me right now?
Every practice, I want 100 reps of off the glass and out for Philip Broberg.
I just think that if the scouting report is saying that the guy lost his confidence because he was losing playing time in the Swedish league, you bring him over to North
From
America.
illness, though.
Yeah, no, but he's losing that. He's losing his confidence in his element over there. You bring him over to North America. You let him excel against his age group, and then you have a better look at him for this year.
Well, I think I heard his team over there is supposed to be a younger team too, so maybe minutes aren't going to be that big of an issue. But I do agree with Tyler. It's got to come down to where he gets the most ice time.
Yeah, and last year, another thing that contributed to him losing his ice time was that they were kind of pushing for a title over there. And I think they acquired another D-man who started taking over the top power play units, and that pushed another guy to the second pairing. And then when Broberg came back in the lineup, it was almost just like, we have no room for this 17, 18-year-old kid.
So I think what our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant are telling everybody is to be patient with Philip Broberg. He's a young kid. He just turned 18 last weekend. Lots of time to develop. It's going to be a couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years. How long did it take Clefbaum to crack the lineup? I'm trying to think. He was drafted in 2011, and then he didn't make the jump for 3-4 years. So it's going to take some time. Who knows what Broberg's going to look like? Who knows what those abs are going to look like? Dan went, and thank you for doing that on your laptop, Dan.
No,
Looking
Search
for
history's got to be really, really weird right now.
well, Dan's search history will prevent him from ever becoming prime minister. So that's a good thing. It's going to take time. Like I said, our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant, they want you to be patient. Not when you're looking for a new vehicle. Oh, no. If you're looking for a screaming deal, you head on down to Sherwood Ford and you find one. How do you find them? Follow them on Twitter at Sherwood Ford and on Instagram at Sherwood Ford_the Giant. One thing I want to talk about for the draft as we start to move on was anybody surprised by the Oilers' lack of activity in terms of trades? I mean, we took guesses on what was going to happen. I said Russell was going to be moved. He is still an Oiler. I thought Jesse Puljujarvi might be moved. He is still here, kind of. Is everybody surprised? Dan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think we all were. I think we all went around the table and we all had the guys that we thought were going to be out of town by the end of draft weekend, and it just didn't come through. I think that there's got to be something bubbling underneath the surface because it can't continue the way it is. That list this morning of our options at left wing on that
what list
second
are you talking
line. I believe it was young Jonathan Willis put that out today, saying that Jujar Kara, Milan Lucic. Who were the other two options?
Benson was there.
Benson or
Nygaard
as our top options for a left winger up on the second line.
Good.
It's a rough look. So Kenny Holland can't be happy with that kind of outlook, and he has to be making some kind of.
He just looks at the left wing depth that Jonathan Willis tweets out this morning, and he's like, "Oh fuck," and he hands in his resignation letter.
And he has to make a trade.
There is something out there. A lot of these contracts are easier to move after July 1st when they have their signing bonuses come out. I know I was hopeful that something was going to happen last weekend, but I'm not horribly surprised. Come August 1st, if we haven't done anything, then I'll be horribly surprised. I still think he's got a bunch. I believe he's got 4, 5, 6 things coming up that after July 1st, when pieces start to figure themselves out, that he's going to be able to pull the trigger on. And after he gets that payment out to Luch, and I'm sure Russell gets a good chunk of money on the 1st of July.
Actually, I'm looking at on Puckpedia right now. No signing bonus for Russell on July 1st, though. Our friend Milan certainly does get one.
I think it becomes easier to make trades of players like that after July 1st because you have teams who, you saw when Erik Karlsson signed his deal, then the dominoes started to shift. Like the Rangers went and acquired Jacob Trouba because they didn't get Karlsson, someone they thought maybe they could get. I think once July 1st happens, some team's going to go and sign Tyler Myers to a terrible contract, and then another team that wanted him is going to be like, okay, like I have to go get somebody else, and that's where you get your, Chris Russells and your Nikita Zaitsevs moving around.
So once the Leafs realize they have no defenseman at all,
then we're going to trade.
Go ahead, Cam. Go ahead and say it. I know you want to.
Darnell Nurse for William Nyland.
We've been working on it. Cam's been working on this one for 6 weeks now.
I've sent Ken Holland a dozen emails. I've tried to add him in BBM chat. What did he just tell you? He
I
won't
sent, him
respond to me.
I sent him an ICQ request, and he's still not get back to
The
me.
biggest problem, not to get this too off track, but with the Darnell Nurse for like Nazem Kadri rumor that's being like floated around.
No,
and all
it's Larson for Kadri is the other one. Larson.
Okay, Larson for Kadri makes a bit more sense, but then Edmonton's just, they have nothing on the right
You
side.
got Matt Benning.
And that's it. Matt Betting,
And
Ethan
Ethan
Bear,
Bear.
and Evan Bouchard.
That is a hell of a right side.
If you're going to trade them Darnell Nurse, the Leafs still have nothing on the right side. They have Zaitsev and like Justin Hall. I don't even know how to say his name. That's how irrelevant
and
he
Jake
is.
Muzzin.
Muzzin's on the left side though,
Muzzin plays the right side.
Hole.
but
for
he's
the
a
Leafs.
left shot. Do they have him playing the right side?
Yes.
Well, then I stand corrected.
Yes.
Ah, take that, Tyler.
You are not the Leafs expert in this room.
I'm actually not.
Just to wrap up on the NHL draft, Tyler, I want to start with you. Let's talk winners and losers of the NHL draft weekend. Who is your winner?
Again, I don't watch these guys a lot, so it's really tough to tell. I heard some really good things about Vegas. I've watched Peyton Krebs play, and he obviously has that injury that's going to keep him out for a bit. But I think Vegas getting him at 17 was tremendous value in the first round of the draft. By all accounts, Carolina got some really good guys later on in the draft, some guys that were expected to go higher. And even though they didn't make a big trade, I'm still considering the Oilers a winner. Yeah, they reached a little for Broberg, but I think that Lavoie pick in the second round is great. I love that goalie Konovalov they took out of the KHL. Like, those are just amazing numbers. And I know Yaroslavl is kind of a good team last year, and they run a really good program there, but you can't ignore how good those numbers are. And anytime you get a chance to pick the KHL Rookie of the Year, I think you do that. And even some of those later guys, like the Czech prospects and stuff, I was chatting with Steve Kornianos today. He's a draft expert, and he kind of said, like, a lot of those guys, the Oilers pick based on skill. And I really like that. When you start going, like, Minnesota was picking a bunch of guys that were just, like, big bodies, and they love crashing and banging, and, like, Don Cherry might love that, but that's not how you draft, because you can't teach skill, right? So I really like what the Oilers did, drafting a lot of skill.
I'm going to go ahead and go next just so nobody steals my answer. To me, the big winner of the weekend is New Jersey.
Damn it.
Obviously, they got Jack Hughes at first overall and then traded nothing to get PK Subban on day 2. That is a very good weekend.
I need to go next because I'm going to jump right off of that. And I'm not even going to list a winner because I don't care. What I'm going to say is there was a clear loser, and that was the Vancouver Canucks. They crapped their pants on draft weekend.
Go ahead.
Good.
They are hosting the draft, and they had the opportunity to acquire PK Subban in a trade. And Subban right now, as Bag Milk says, was acquired for literally nothing because Nashville wanted to go and dump his $9 million cap hit so they could throw a bunch of cash at Matt Duchene and finally got their number one center. Instead of apparently the Canucks didn't want to make a trade for Subban because they didn't want to give up on Adam Gaudette. So what they're going to do now instead is go out and sign Tyler Myers, who's mediocre, to a deal with $8 million a year. And the other thing they did, so they want to start winning now. Vancouver's thing, Jim Benning's not signed beyond this upcoming season. So he's like, okay, we got to win. So he went and took a bad cap hit from Tampa Bay and JT Miller, and he gave them a first-round pick, where at the exact same time, Carolina got a first-round pick from the Leafs to take on Patrick Marleau, who scored more goals than JT Miller. So the Vancouver Canucks got absolutely spanked around on the draft that they were hosting when they could have traded for PK Subban. And then you're capitalizing on Elias Pettersson's entry-level contract, but they fucked up.
Were they willing to take on the whole contract?
Well, I mean, New Jersey,
Jersey took on the whole contract. So I think that's what I heard.
That's what I mean. Is you have the chance to acquire Subban because he became a cap dump for Nashville because of their circumstance. If you just take on that full contract, 3 years, $9 million per year, you get yourself a very good player without having to give up much. And instead, if they were scared of the $9 million, then what the hell are you doing considering Tyler Myers for $7 or $8 million a year?
That's a fair point. What's their contract like? Because I have to give a shout out to Bobby Lou for throwing him a $3 million anchor for the next 3 years.
Bobby,
I'm a big fan of seeing that.
Roberto Luongo jumps in. He logged onto Twitter one day and he saw that they were considering signing Tyler Myers. So he's like, oh my God, I need to protect them from doing this. So he retired. They got a cap recapture penalty of $3 million for the next 3 years, and now it might be a little harder for them to sign Tyler.
If he went,
biggest
one more
save in
year,
Luongo's career.
If he went one more year on LTIR, I think they would have been a 1 year. But it was a stupid number. Like 3 over 3 isn't that bad. Like, it sucks, but if he went one more year, the buyout would have been horrible.
You want to know how bad things are with Lucic in Edmonton? I had multiple people texting into the lowdown, being like, hey, do you think the Oilers can trade Lucic for the Luongo recapture penalty? The Oilers fans wanted to acquire it in exchange for Lucic, which is impossible, by the way.
I think my loser of the draft, I know we were saying for winners, but you guys have taken all the good ones. My loser would be the Columbus Blue Jackets.
And why?
Who didn't have a first-round pick because of the Duchesne trade. They didn't have a second-round pick because they traded away David Clarkson's contract to Vegas.
Along with William Karlsson,
Yep.
who was once a 40-goal scorer for the Vegas Golden Knights.
And they didn't have a 5th or 6th-round pick because of the McQuaid trade.
Well, they went all in on this year.
And the biggest part of that, the biggest reason that they're losers is they're going to lose both Panarin and Bobrovsky for nothing because they went all in this year.
But they won their first playoff series ever.
And they have no draft picks.
And Duchesne.
No real draft picks from
And
this.
Duchesne.
And Duchesne,
But
yeah.
you got to dive in and win your one playoff series ever. I mean, like, look at how hard Oilers fans hold on to the 2017
It's a
first.
Raptors fan right here in Kawhi. You got to
need-
go all in on 1
You
year.
need your win, man. You need to get your W's. You can't always be worrying about the future. You could get hit by a car tomorrow.
This is why you answered, would you take, to my hypothetical of, would you take the non-injury to Dwayne Rollison, meaning you win one cup, and then everything else happens except you'd never get Connor McDavid.
That's easy. I take 2006 and it's not close.
You take that cup.
Of course, you take the certainty no matter what.
See, and
Easy,
that's
easy.
that's a little bit different because knowing you'll get McDavid, I still think McDavid will guarantees you 2 cups in the next 15 years.
Agreed.
I think it does. You can shake your head at me and not say a word into the mic, Coom, but I think it does.
No, it doesn't.
I see.
I like the beef.
I think I'll take my chances to win 2 cups in 15 years and
I
get
think
the
the
chance
Edmonton
to.
Oilers are going to win 2 Stanley Cups in Connor McDavid's 15-year career.
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
And you take that with 100% certainty that it's worth not going back in time and getting the 2006 Stanley Cup.
Yes.
Well, that's not fair because you were fucking 2 years old then, whereas I was 13, and that was a key moment in my life.
See, I was 21. I was ready to shut that shit down.
But anyways,
19,
with
ready to
Columbus,
go.
like it's not like they had such a bright future where you were sitting there and going, "Oh, they're a lock to win a cup if they just keep going on this path." No, they knew that they were probably going to lose Bobrovsky. They knew they were probably going to lose Panarin. So I love the fact that Kekalainen pushed his chips into the middle. And at the end of the day, he lost in Game 6 to the eventual Stanley Cup champions. It's not like they went and got smoked by Tampa in the first round, right? Like
No.
they had a legitimate chance there. And
Yep.
Kekalainen recognized that the East was wide open this season, and if you could get past Tampa Bay, they had a real shot at winning that thing. So I still don't think there's any sort of regret in the Columbus organization.
You don't think that there could be some regret just in the sense that all the guys they got, plus their 2 stars, are now gone somewhere else? Like,
And the cupboards are bare because the draft picks also.
But the cupboards aren't necessarily bare. You still have guys like Ollie Bjorkstrand, Josh Anderson, Pierre-Luc Dubois. On the back end, you're still loaded up. Jones, Werenski. Say what you want about Ryan Murray never being healthy, but when he's ready and in the lineup and healthy, if that ever happens for 60 games a year, he's a legit top 4 option as well. Guys like Marcus Nudavara in there. Alex Tessier was really, really good in the playoffs too. So they still have some good pieces.
Plus,
it's not like
I
they're
don't know.
a barren wasteland.
The player that Ottawa drafted with the pick, the Duchesne pick, that people were saying Ottawa had like the worst draft because they drafted some guy that was supposed to go like mid-second round. So like, what did Columbus really give up here?
Well, they gave it up to Ottawa, which is not really.
I know.
The Julius Bergman. So this Julius Bergman.
Bergman.
This is who they drafted? No.
Yeah.
That's not
No, that's the guy they got in the Carlson deal, or in one of the trades.
I don't know. It just
but-
to me, it's like Kekalainen just made more work for himself going forward.
And that's fine.
Therefore,
And
he's a loser.
What else did we learn with the PK
A loser.
Subban Nashville trade? It's that if you can weaponize your cap space, you can put yourself in a real good spot. Now he's in a place where he has like $25 million to spend.
Are you saying they need a cowboy?
That's actually a deal that I wouldn't necessarily scoff at if I was Columbus. And like, there might be a chance at that, but if there was a way to get Ryan Murray, I think that's a guy you could buy low on right now and just bank on that he finally figures out the injury thing. But they have so much cap space they could go. I mean, Ryan Zingle isn't the sexiest name out there, but he could be a 25-goal guy for you probably. I think you can go out and sign some impactful forwards. You have your defense. Maybe you trade Ryan Murray and try to get another forward out of this. I don't think they're entirely screwed. Goaltending-wise, they're in a world that hurt. But everywhere else, like, they can recover from this. It's not like they're...
You can also wait a year and go into free agency next year and sign like Taylor Hall, Alex Pietrangelo. You don't have to like throw all your cap space this year.
Yeah, like there's going to be a ton of room. And next year, I don't think the cap's going to go up very high either, just because I don't think the US TV deal's up. The players are probably going to want to do that protecting the escrow thing and all that before the lockout again. So next year, if you think teams are strapped for cash this year, next year might be even worse.
Lots
And
of
if
big
Columbus
free
can
agents
hold,
out there.
and if Columbus can hold on to that cap space, they could set themselves up really well for a year from now.
Ryan Spooner is a free agent next year. You can sign Ryan Spooner.
I think most people, I think Vancouver should extend Ryan Spooner because he's just a great guy. And he does that little hip wiggle move all the time where he's changing.
He skates with both of his skates going the other way.
He does the eagle turn
you
at
need
all
to
times.
you need to move him out because you need the cap space to get a Luch. You need the hometown boy. You need him riding shotgun to watch over little Pedersen. He's the type of player they need right now. And then we'll send the cowboy out east somewhere.
As Tyler alluded to moments earlier, Monday, Canada Day, is NHL Free Agency Day. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends at Will Hawk Beef Jerky.
Oh, that's good stuff.
You're damn right it's good stuff. And we found out that Will Hawk is going to be one of the title sponsors for the Oilers Nation Golf Tournament, the Oilers Nation Open that's coming up on August 29th. And we are so pumped about it because last year and this year, Rick, they will be submitting jerky sample packs for all the bags.
There's 900 golfers in case anyone from Wilhock is listening right now.
Will Hawk, if you're listening, there could be
900.
2,000 golfers.
Exactly. That's what I meant to
And
say.
don't count that. Like, I'll just take my word on it. I'll count for you. I guarantee all the jerky will be gone.
Yep.
I guarantee it will be eaten, and it will be loved. If you've never had Will Hawk beef jerky, I urge you.
What about the sausage?
Oh, man, the sausages. It's like, these people, they know meat. They know cured meats. Head on over to willhawkbeefjerky.com. Check out the options. Go do yourself a favor. I'm telling you.
Spruce Grove and Leduc.
I'm
locations.
asking you.
I go to both.
Spruce Grove and Leduc locations.
What I suggest you do is head to both and pick up a snack pack on the way. It's kind of like Rick does food tours all the time that I really love. He'll go to one restaurant, pick up one item, go to another one, pick up a different item, and make himself a little meal. So what I'm suggesting is you do the same thing at willhawkbeefjerky.com.
The Henday is a long road, and you need beef jerky for the trip.
Or maybe
Get
it's
2 packs.
summertime, you're out in the trails,
Oh, good
right?
call.
Little pocket jerky.
Protein snack.
You need it. You need it in your life. willhawkbeefjerky.com. Welcome to Oilers Nation Radio. Thank you for making this possible. Now, free agency is coming up on Monday. The first thing I want to talk about is why do we have to wait so long between the end of the draft and free agency? There's been this courting period that's been going on for 6 years now. It's too long. As somebody who likes free agency day, I don't mind covering it. But I mean, Canada Day, man. I'd like to go out and barbecue or something. Maybe spend a day at the lake. Something fun. What do you guys think of the delay between the draft and free agency, Dan?
It's getting a little silly because they're allowed now to talk to their free agents, but they're not allowed to talk to them about term. And as we all know, no term has ever been leaked
That's so
during
dumb.
this period.
Like, imagine in your period, you're like, oh, we can give you this much per year, but I don't know. It'll be.
What if I just
I
throw
don't
this
know.
sheet of paper into the
Hypothetically,
garbage can and
your
it
deal
has
could be
numbers
anywhere
on it?
between $10 and $70 million, depending if it's 1 in 7 years.
I would like a scenario where there's one general manager out there who actually follows that rule and is like, listen, so I know we can't talk term, but we'll be calling you bright and early on July 1st. And the agent's like, no, man, New Jersey already offered us 4 years, $4 million. And this year I was like, hold up. What?
Tampering.
They're talking numbers. Anyways, but yeah, no, I don't think anyone follows that rule. I'm sure if they really wanted to be secretive and be around it, it's like, well, your client is a left winger, and when we look at our left wing depth chart, we'd love to sign a guy for about 4 years, $4 million on there. Like, we think that would fit really well, right? Like, no one follows. I do agree though, but the whole scheduling of the NHL is messed up. The training camps should be opening like right at the end of August, or maybe a little bit before, like 10 days to go in August. And the season should be starting like no later than September 15th. The cup should be handed out at the beginning of May. Draft should be June 1. Free agency should open like June 6. Like, just get it rolling.
We should be in baseball only mode right now.
We should be in baseball only mode right now, and that's a shame.
CFL only.
That Eskimos game last night was just infuriating.
Just catch the ball.
You mean Sean White?
Catch
Sean
the-
White versus the Blue Bombers.
Yeah.
So looking at free agency, Tyler's going to have something going up on the Nation tomorrow morning about a list of some players. Dusty wrote about some the other day as well. So I just want to go through the sexy name. Cam, don't worry. I see you, buddy. I know you got a defensive thing up today. Go read Cam's defensive outlook report this morning, OilersNation.com. It seems like Brett Connolly could be already done. Maybe. I know they're not supposed to talk about terms, but it's like his agent was on, was it Gregor's show?
He was on with Wilkins, wasn't he? Wasn't he on with
He was on the
Wilkins?
radio somewhere.
One of those many shows.
And he was talking about, Edmonton would be a great fit for my client, and blah, blah, blah. And just, all right, like, what are we doing here? Are we doing this tap dance where you guys didn't talk about money and you're going to pretend like we're all dumb? I don't know. So
They
Brett
usually want to say on the radio, but yeah, that thing is damn near signed, I'm guessing.
Remember when we brought in Lucic and Demers and they just rode around in a limo and they didn't talk about anything?
We
number
brought in
related?
Danny.
How do you know they didn't talk in the limo?
They didn't. They weren't allowed to. Rick.
Maybe they talked when they were going around the new arena.
Edmonton and Peter Chiarelli never broke the rules.
They talked about local cuisine, and that's it. That's it. Just
And
the
this
festivals
nightlife?
that are coming up. And
What if you don't talk about the term of the contract? You freestyle rap about the term of a potential contract, because you're not talking about it, you're singing about it.
or are you opening a
Good
new,
point.
like a new Pokemon file, and you name your character the terms of a contract? You're just like, you can play the character if you're interested in playing that character. It's up to you, really.
I think people are now playing the Harry Potter game, Bag Milk.
Is that
I'm
a
still
thing?
playing Pokemon Go. I
Okay,
like to get my
there you
steps
go.
in. Step
Um,
boys.
How much, if Brett Connolly is indeed coming here, what do you think the deal will look like?
For 4 years, $3.5 million. Something stupid.
3.5
like that.
years, $4 million.
Nice.
I honestly don't know, because every time I think that I have an idea on what's going to happen for a contract, I just look stupid. Like, would anybody ever in their right mind have predicted 7+ for Kevin Hayes? Like, it doesn't
That
make any
contract's so
sense.
fucked.
Yaremchuk loved that contract, though.
Everything
now-
the
and now
Flyers
they-
do is so good.
And now they have no money to give Travis Konechny $5 million. So good
but
one.
it was
Philly.
$7 million for Konechny.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there.
And then the far superior William Karlsson signs for $1.5 million less.
Like, that's the guy who scored 40 goals. Kevin Hayes has cracked
'Kay.
40 points like
If-
twice.
If Brett Connolly is going to cost you like $4 million a year to sign, or $3 million or whatever, why don't you just go and sign like 3 really cheap guys? Why don't you just go and sign like
3 times.
Thomas Vanek, Patrick Maroon, like Tyler Ennis?
Because you don't need that many guys.
Yeah, you do. The Oilers have
Their
like
bottom six is
Oilers
crowded,
have like
man.
2 NHL wingers.
They need to clear out that bottom six, because there's a lot of trash.
So many of those
down
players are bad.
Okay, I think Kara you can say is a competent
Fourth liner.
Bottom
there. Oh,
line
I
guy.
love Jujar swinging that hammer. around,
Kazian's
man. You
a
gotta have
fine
him.
player too.
They're not buying out Gagne, and he's competent.
See, I can see them buying out Gagne.
I still don't
Not
get
because
the
I-
buyout.
no,
they
because
should, but I don't think they are.
They only have 3 top 6 players right now. 3.
Yeah.
3.
See, but Cassian can do it. Like they have 3 top line. They have 3 top 6 players, but that spot next to McDavid and Draisaitl doesn't need to be a top
So you
6
put
winger.
Zach Cassian there.
Okay, so now you have 4.
Now
so
you need 3 middle 6 guys. 3 middle 6 wingers. Because you moved Cassian up.
you need 2 wingers and you need a center still.
So you go and you sign.
Like, what would you rather see them do? Go get Filppula, Peary, and Daniel Carr, or go get Peary and Connolly?
Well, the question
3.
I have about Connolly is he played the bulk of his time, according to Hockey Reference, kind of in a third line role last year, and that's fine. But like, is he going to be moonlighting as a second line winger just because that's what we signed him to do, or is he going to be properly slotted?
He'll probably go up and down. Unless there's somebody that's going to take that spot ahead of him, which there necessarily isn't. We need middle depth that can score.
Like a handful of guys, not just one guy.
I was just going to
2.
say, we need more players. We
2.
need guys
2 or 3.
that can spell the other guys when they're not.
But you
together.
guys were still
quality
talking about
guys.
bringing back Mr. No Goals from last year, so thank
Absolutely.
God he's gone.
Absolutely.
No, the
That's
Oilers
the
This is
one.
my prediction on Toby Reeder. Somebody's going to sign him for a league minimum, and he's going to get 10 goals.
You also need another thing we haven't even talked about yet, and which
We
is
still
why you got to
saving about
sign.
Luch.
You got to sign more than one free agent. Is you need guys to play on your penalty kill. Like if you sign Brett Connolly, then and he's your only forward ad, who plays on the penalty kill?
Your penalty kill probably isn't horrible right now. I think you got to get rid of Brodziak somehow, so you can put him in minors. There's got to be at least one player coming up from down there. I don't know exactly which one, but Jujar can kill penalties. Cass can kill penalties. They're not the greatest, but that's what you have.
But my thing, with a guy like Cassian, is that he shouldn't be expected to just be penciled in on the top line the entire season.
No one's penciling. Oh, you're gonna. I'd pencil him as a floater.
But we have
anywhere
nobody
from first line to fourth line.
But we have nobody to float above him.
That's why you go and you sign Tyler Ennis, you sign.
But we
Brian
don't have the
Tanev,
option
you
to
sign
bring in
Jonas
anybody in ahead of him,
Donskoy.
anyways. Unless
No,
we
you
do the
sign
whole.
like 3 guys.
Unless we do, the only way you're gonna get a top 6 guy properly is to make a trade.
Well, that's why you get
There's
a bunch
nobody out there on.
You get a bunch
we've
of
seen what
middle
happens
six
at
guys and see
UFA
what
time.
happens.
Stop going after big end UFA guys. Look on July 3rd. Let's get that middle part set up. The top is
That's what I'm
fine.
saying.
And that's
We
exactly
can
what we're
circulate
saying.
all of our right wingers.
Yep.
But we need to make sure that middle, that second and third line are strong. We can put together a fourth line. Our first line's fantastic.
But like-
Coombs
it's
having
like-
an aneurysm.
If the
It's like
Oilers-
your Mchuk asked, though. It's it's whether you go after 3 guys at a lower contract, or you sign a Connolly and then another guy at a low contract. And it just to me it makes too much sense to have multiple options. If you could have Toby Reeder in the mix again, I'm okay with him as an
No.
option.
Yeah, league minimum, man.
No, that dude.
League minimum.
League minimum.
Who's going to outscore? Who's going
League
to
minimum
score more?
contract is such good
Lucic or
balance.
Reeder? Who's going to score more? Who's going to score more points next year? Reeder
Zero
or
goals.
Lucic? Reeder or
Zero
Lucic?
goals.
You were ready to
Right now.
sign JJ Kyra to a 3-year deal yesterday. He scored 3 goals last season.
Yeah, but that's completely
No,
different.
it isn't.
The dude's been handling his wrist injury.
Handling his.
His wrist injury. The guy is hampered
I
when
get
it
why
comes
he's
to
got a
going up
wrist
and down the
injury.
damn ice. You try and skate with that going up and down the ice.
You try and skate with
That
that
guy
thing
can
wrapped
handle
around
the
your
puck
leg.
below the circles. He can handle the puck below the dots in the offensive zone better than almost anybody on the team that can do it.
You
His
found
body
a guy that you like,
positioning.
and that's fine.
That's the
we're
guy
not
you
shitting
stick
on
with.
Karen.
I think we all like Jujar.
That's
Yeah,
the
I
guy
don't
you
think
stick
anybody's
with.
But like-
shitting on
And that's
Jujar.
the guy who's a third line left
But
winger.
you like his intangibles that he brings, and you say fuck the 3 goals. I say Toby's not going to score 0 again at league minimum. He can at the very least kill penalties.
He's going to outscore Lucic for sure,
100%.
wherever he ends up, and he's going to.
Well, I feel like this is. I feel like this.
$5.7
We should have like
million
a.
less.
I feel like this is going to turn into something.
You want to buy another? You want to buy another Coombe t-shirt?
No, we're gonna. We're gonna write this down. We're gonna need this
Yeah,
for
we did
September.
we're gonna take some bets on this one, I think.
Yeah. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be good.
100%.
But like looking at the bottom 6 though, Colby Cave, he is what it is. He could be here, he could not. Who cares?
First line right wing.
Chiarelli killed
Joaquim Nygaard, he's gonna be doing something,
Yeah.
I guess. Brodziak, you could bury him, or pray that somebody wants to take him, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, Sam Gagne at 3-1. That's not great, but there's 1 year left, so I could see either of them buying him out or hanging on to him and him playing like second pairing power play kind of thing, where that's why he has the contract he does. But then you have like, obviously the elephant in the room is Milan Lucic at $6 million, and he's gonna be playing 5 minutes a night on the 4th line. Like,
You got to just pencil him in on the 4th line. Just got to accept it.
Yeah, but again, just going back to the bottom 6. So you got Lucic, you got Nygaard, Kara. I'm ignoring Cave because he's a center. I just want to talk wingers right now. Lucic, Kara, Nygaard, Gagne. So there you go. There's already 4. That's your bottom 6 wingers
That
right
is
there.
bad.
They're your
It's
bottom
bad.
6 though, man.
Your bottom 6 should be good. The Leafs had look at the 4th line they had last year with Tyler Ennis put up like 13 goals.
Yeah, so let's say you go get Tyler Ennis or Brandon Peary.
Yes.
And they're in there as well, and there's a rotation. And now you got to look at your top 6. Like, I just think going out there, sure, if you want to get one of like Peary or Ennis or Carr, that's really good. That inject, I mean, Peary's not the fastest, but inject some offense into there. And then when I look at the top 6, I look at a guy like Connolly, 22 goals last year, a decent shooting percentage. It's not like
most
he
are
shot
even strength as well.
13 of the 4 or 21 of the 22 or something like that. We're at even strength. His main center over the last 3 years has been Lars Eller. Not a knock on Lars Eller. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a way better play marker than Lars Eller is. And he was only averaging like 59 seconds a game on the power play. So if you bring him here and all of a sudden he's playing 18 minutes a night with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and $1.50 on the power play, I think that's a guy who's going to score you 25 goals. And I think a combination of Peary and Carr and Ennis and whoever, that's not going to accomplish that for you. I think you need to go out and get the sure bet this summer.
The reason the Oilers were bad last year was the complete lack of depth. And you say the bottom 6 doesn't matter, but they're still going to play like 25 minutes a game?
I know.
You want to have 25 minutes in which you're completely devoid of offense and you're just getting spanked around?
Okay, but that's not my point. My point is that McDavid and Draisaitl will drive that top line. Last year, a big problem as well is that no one was there with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He had to either do it himself And
Which is
on
why
most
you
cases-
signed 2 middling guys. You signed Eunice
Okay, but
Donskoy and Tyler
Are two
Ennis.
middling guys really going to help Ryan Nugent-Hopkins that much? No, Brett Connolly will.
Yeah, but you're saying that Brett Connolly will. What if Brett Connolly, 20 games into the season, it just doesn't work with Nugent Hopkins? Well, then we're left holding a $4 million guy.
I think you need to make sure you nail this, obviously, but I think that's the risk you're taking.
That's where
odds
you,
of Brett Connolly scoring 25 goals with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a lot better than the odds of one of Peary or Ennis or Daniel Carr being able to snap their
You're
fingers
saying
and
name
become a top
differences.
six
You
winger.
bring up names that I'm not even saying. I'm talking about like Donskoy and guys
Donskoy's
like that.
going to cost you like almost $3 million, I guarantee, 2.5.
the difference is if you sign Connolly, that's your guy. And he's hemmed in there, just like Lucic is hemmed into the fourth line. Now.
I don't think Connolly's going to be Lucic.
I'm not saying he is, but I'm just saying that if you sign the 3 guys or the 2 guys for that same $4 million, and one of them doesn't work out, the other 2 have a chance to work out, and you can keep rotating and keep trying.
See, to me, this is like if someone walked up to you right now and said, here's a $20 bill or here's 3 $2 scratch tickets. Which one are you going to take?
You take them scratch tickets.
Take the scratch ticket. What's on the scratch ticket? You absolutely do.
Because the scratch tickets are probably just all going to be losers, or they're going to win you like a free ticket. The $20 bill is a $20 bill.
That fourth ticket though.
But you're hemmed in. You're hemmed in with Connolly for 4 years if you're doing that, or 3 years if you're doing that deal as well. The difference is if you have these guys and one of them works with Nuge, then you sign them to another deal the next year.
But what if they don't? Are we here?
Then you walk away from them next year.
And then you
instead of
just
being stuck with a waste.
Once again, being like, we have no second line.
Man,
no
Ennis scored 12 goals in 51 games last year.
Who did?
Ennis. Ennis scored 12 goals, 51 games. So the exact same pace that Connolly scored at. You sign Ennis, you sign Tanev, you sign Donskoy, and you add 3 pretty good guys.
I think Ennis could be had for league minimum, so I actually think you could probably do Ennis and Connolly. But I think you get one lower tier guy at the 650, 750K range, and you go get Connolly.
Last year, the Edmonton Oilers scored 232 goals. 61% of those goals came from 4 guys. So they need more than just Connolly, and I think that they need to find I like the idea of Connolly, don't get me wrong. I think that that's actually a really good bet. However, I don't think ignoring the bottom 6 is necessarily a good plan.
We're also assuming that Chason walks away.
Well, that's another one. We haven't really heard much about Chason right now, and
Perfect.
I'm curious to know
So
what's
you quietly
going
do
on
it. You grab him for
another PTO.
one. No, you get him at like one and a half. You can get him at 1.5, 2 mil max.
It's going to be really interesting to see how Holland approaches this, because if he can all of a sudden even free up, say, $1 million and a half in a Russell deal, and all of a sudden that's another player in the bottom 6 that maybe can contribute a little bit more than the nothing that a lot of those guys did.
Here's the other thing I'll say. Who would you rather have on this team next year? Sam Gagner or Valtteri Filppula? Or if the choice is Sam Gagner, or you can go out and get Ennis and someone like Daniel Carr.
Oh, baby.
Or what if it's Gagner or Brandon Tanev? To me, you got to buy out Gagner. I love him, and watching him come back last year and score a couple goals and the big celebrations and all that, it was fun from a fan perspective, but it's just too easy to cut bait with him. If they buy him out, they save $2 million this upcoming season, and it only costs them $1 million for a year after. That just makes too much sense.
With a guy with Gagner, though, it just doesn't make sense for us, knowing that we have these albatross contracts that we're having to try and talk about, slinging a first-round pick to get rid of. I just think you stick around with him for another year. You see what you got in the guy, because there's a serviceable player there. Granted, he shouldn't be at the number he's at, but maybe that happens exactly the same thing with Brett Connolly, and then you're locked in with him for 4 years.
But what if you can get
Dan's very anti Brett Connolly right now. That's what we're learning. It's just like sending Leon Draisaitl down to the AHL early in the season.
It's his contract number. The only thing with Connolly is it's always just going to be the number that he's coming in at, because he has value. And I'm not saying he's a bad player. I don't think he is. But when his value on the open market is driven up to $4 million, you walk away from it every time.
But we don't know that it's going to be.
No, I know.
That's saying hypothetically, if it is.
Yes.
If Brett Connolly's coming in at $2 million for some reason for 2 years, then
Absolutely.
What if it's 3 years, $3.25 million? See, but now you're scoffing at that, and you're okay with Gagner at 3 for a year.
For 1 year, yes. Because then you walk away from it and you don't have to worry about him next year. You don't have to worry about his cap hit.
But I agree with Tyler in the sense that I'm worried about wasting another year of Connor McDavid.
We can't waste another year. Get someone in here right now who's proven he can score some fucking goals and put them on the line right now. We'll figure out the top 6 guys with those 4 players We can bring guys up, whatever. We can figure that shit out, but we cannot sit here and go, oh, if it doesn't work out, we'll just do something out next year. We need to do something with Connor this year. We do not have the option of fucking wasting one more year. Bring him in at 3 years, bring him in at $3.25 million, and let's get on with it. And let's get at the other guys because we don't have one more year to spare.
I just remember so vividly last year, there was so many times we talked about that middle bottom six having so many bad players. And if you have like $6 million to spend, just go and find like 3 pretty good guys.
Yes.
No, but you don't do 3 pretty. You got to get one guy who can score at a second line rate. Connolly's done it. Connolly's proven it. He's done it 5-on-5. Go get him right now.
Pittsburgh
I think
has
what
made
you're hearing, dear listener, is that we've all got beef. Not as delicious as the wonderful beef jerky from our friends at Wilhock. Huh?
Yeah.
Anybody?
That's
So good.
Huh? I can tell you one thing. Heading on over to WilhockBeefJerky.com. That is a lot better than a scratch ticket. Although I would take the scratch ticket.
Would you rather have 1 bag of beef jerky or 3 bags of beef jerky? I don't
It's
know.
potential 3 bags.
No.
But how big are the bags, though? Like, if it's one sizable portion of delicious Wilhock beef jerky, or is it 3 tiny little morsels? I'm greedy. I like a lot of beef jerky.
I don't think Tyler Ennis, Unistone's going brand 10 ever little morsels of beef. I
You're a
think those
Leafs guy.
There was only one of those guys,
You
in
love
Leaf,
an
and
Ennis.
he's from Edmonton.
You've been drawing a picture of him the whole time.
You guys all
You're
get bonus
shading
for
it
that
with
local
pen.
player shit. You love an Edmontonian
Shading him in
signing
with a
here.
blue pen over there.
I'm just waiting for Joffrey
Hearts
Woodward to
around
come
him.
back. You know,
We're also going to sign Martin Marinson this offseason.
man, Henderson would be so.
Henderson
pumped.
would love it.
Anyway, head on over to WilhockBeefJerky.com. You got on over to Spruce Grove, Leduc, do the tour, do a beef jerky tour, keep some in your pocket, no matter where you're at. A little bit of pocket jerky will do the body good.
Pocket
Now,
jerky.
Absolutely.
a couple of other items from free agency that I want to talk about. We've got less than 10 minutes left in this week's podcast. What are you guys feeling about reports? Andy Strickland this morning said Cam Talbot, dad butt, the man we loved, is signing a 1-year contract in Calgary. Rick?
Good for him. Good luck. Have a good rest of your career. You wear a different name on that jersey now. I've moved on.
Rick will cut you out of his life, Cam.
Yeah, I mean, like I still think Cam Talbot's good. Like a lot of why he was bad the past 2 years is the Oilers were bad, but it's a nice like depth signing for the Flames. I hope it works out for him. Seems like a nice guy, so whatever.
On the reverse, Dan, before you get your Talbot take, what about the talk of Mike Smith coming here instead of a guy like Peter Mrazek? We're basically swapping. Dan?
Well, you're
We're doing a wife swap.
We're swapping for a guy that's 38, 39 years old, has had a really good playoff run with a team in front of him
Why don't
that's
you just get Brett Connolly in that?
who's better on defense than the Oilers have been in the past. I don't know. I like Talbot's as great of a guy off the ice as you could come across, and I like that. Sad to see him go, and I hope we get Mrazek and not Smith, and I hope we get Mrazek at a sensible number.
Why would you want to go spend money on Mrazek when you could go get like 3 decent goalies
Yeah.
and just hope one of them works out?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
What happens if Mrazek doesn't work out? Then
Well,
you got
'cause
2 more years.
Mrazek-
But if you could bring in Smith and
'cause
doesn't work out, you can
Mrazek-
walk away at the end of the year.
Because Mrazek doesn't have to play net with Connor McDavid. He
He
doesn't
has to
get
play
the
net
luxury
for
of
Connor
it.
McDavid.
Yeah, he
Oilers
doesn't
also-
get the luxury of
The
having Connor
situation
next to
isn't
him.
the Oilers need to fill 7 goalie spots on their roster. It's
Are
one
you
and a half.
sure?
Yes.
We
I'm
might need to
quite
fill
sure.
7
The
goal
Oilers
spots
have
on this
the Oilers
roster.
have 2 NHL wingers on their roster, and they need to fill up the rest of the roster with good wingers. It's like one backup goalie position. It's 1 and 1.
Oh,
You can't make the same comparable.
Yeah, it was a miss. It was a miss. It was a
If
good
you
try.
are, if you are listening to this podcast right now, I want you to join in on the argument at ON Radio Podcast on Twitter or on Instagram. Let us know what you think about these free agent signings. Let us know whose side you're on. Mine, obviously.
Team lottery picks. Team lottery ticket.
Getting away from
Team depth.
There you go. Team depth.
Team depth over there for Coom. Getting away from free agency a little bit. Well, I guess reports came out of Switzerland this week that the Oilers have signed centerman Gaetan Haas.
Gaten Ass.
Gaetan Haas from
Yes.
Bern SC. Last year, he had 15 goals, 23 assists for 38 points. On yesterday's episode of Inside the Nation with one Dustin Nielsen, he said he heard from a Swiss scout that told him he can play at the NHL level. Obviously, we have to wait and see. What I found interesting about this is that he was second in team scoring behind former Oiler Marco Bello.
Why did they just sign Marco Bello then?
Maybe they could.
He had his chance and he lost it.
Where do you guys think this player fits in? Obviously, none of us have seen him. We don't know shit about him. I didn't even know he existed until a few days ago. Does this bump a guy like Colby Cavoff? Is this Kyle Brodziak leaving? What do you guys think?
It's just more competition for that third or fourth line plus BK. If it
Which makes
in
you
the
mad.
long run means some of those guys, someone goes, that's fair. But I think Colby Cave will probably be here, and I don't see Brodziak being here. He
So
just can't skate no more.
They're going to pay this Haas guy $800,000 a year when that's $800,000 you could have given to Brett Connolly.
The point I'm going to make here is like when you're an organization that is tough to the cap, but not but you have lots of money, if you know what I'm saying, right? Like Daryl Cates can open up the checkbook some more if he wants to. I would be signing a bunch of free agents for $800 or $900K because the worst thing that can happen
Wow.
is
Wait, what?
What?
What's happening? You just changed from like 3 minutes ago in the segment to now?
after you get Connolly, you can go out and sign as many 800, 900K guys as you want because if they don't work out, you can just keep burying them in the minors, right? The guys you were talking about, like I think Ennis is going to cost you 1.5. And
Donskoy 2.
Exactly.
1.5.
so the argument was a bunch of $1.5, $2 million
$5
guys
for
or
those
one
three
$3.5 million guy. When you get guys like Haas at 800K or Peary at 800K, like those guys, you can just bury those contracts. And
you have no
those are
developmental
those
spots
are
in
the
the
bets I
AHL
want
for
to
your
take.
prospects.
Sorry, Cam, go ahead.
You have no developmental spots in the AHL for your prospects. Just sign like 40 guys.
Like not saying
late
40.
20s.
Go sign like 3 of them.
Sign 30 of them.
Fascinating plot twist here.
And
I
if they
just
don't
enjoying
make the
plot
NHL, you healthy scratch them in the American League and let your kids play. Like
Kind of like Brandon
rich organizations can take those chances, and I like the idea of adding someone like Haas.
Who knows what's going to happen with him?
He
I
could
hope
be the next Par Lindholm.
See, now Tyler's making Leafs references. It's not even me doing it. Why don't you get angry at Tyler for doing it?
It's oozing that way. Can't get away from it. But yeah, I'll take Connolly and then some under millions rather than just two of them at like $1.50.
So we've got a week, obviously, until we record next. That'll be 4 or 5 days of free agency in the books by the time we come back on the 5th. Do you think that the Oilers make a trade by then?
I don't think they
2 trades, 2 new players signed. So 2 trades and 2
your
UFAs
guesses?
signed. It's
Jesse?
It's gonna be. I can still see a Gagne being moved out for maybe like move up a draft pick type of situation. Then they buy him out, and we can get him back at a proper price. I can see a Gagne going. Gagne, Luch. I hate saying this one. Puljujarvi or Russell somewhere in there, and then I can see like Connolly coming in. And maybe one other type of guy who's going to be around $1 million.
Dan?
I just think we overpay for Connolly. We sign Mike Smith,
brother.
and there's no more trades.
And
No trades until
and you
next
still
episode.
want Reeder on the team.
Cam?
I think the Oilers are going to sign Mike Smith, Thomas Vanek. Those are like my very clear certains.
Trades or no trades?
There's going to be no trades. Nothing's
Tyler?
gonna happen.
I think they'll get Connolly, 3 years, $3.5 million. I think they'll find a taker for Chris Russell, and the return will be a slightly overpriced third line center for him. And then I think they'll find a deal for Yessa as well. There'll be one more free agent in there, like under $1 million. So I'll say Connolly, a cheap UFA, a Russell deal, and a JP deal.
I'm going to go ahead and say that I think the Brett Connolly deal is already done. I'm going to say that on Monday morning, first thing, that one's going to be announced, despite the fact that they are not allowed to talk about money or term.
Well,
So
they'll
they-
just agree really quickly.
They just
on Monday
yell
morning.
the
Very,
numbers into
very
the phone,
quickly.
yeah.
So I think that one's going to get done. I'm going to go ahead and predict an exact trade of Sam Gagne to the Ottawa Senators because they need to get to the cap floor for some kind of draft pick. I still think somebody needs a cowboy, but I think they'll probably trade for maybe a third line player that is coming in around $3 million. So they save $1 million on the Russell deal. And as for a goalie, I'm going to go ahead and keep fingers crossed that it's Peter Mrazek and not Mike Smith.
How about this for a deal? Since Ottawa does need cap space, I really like Rick's idea. I've mentioned that a few times. You trade Gagne to Ottawa for a third-round pick. Because that'd be kind of on par with the Leafs paying a first to get rid of Marlowe, 6, so a third to get rid of $3 million. Ottawa just buys them out immediately, quickly, and you sign them for league minimum.
I'd be happy with that.
You save $2.2 million. That gives you enough money to go get Brandon Tanev.
You say
Now we're talking.
And,
There we go.
And now
I
you
like
get
your
Connolly
depth. I like
and
your
you get
depth
Tanev,
idea
right?
here. All team depth.
Now
I
we're
like
talking.
it. You've
I
come
like-
over to the dark side, and I,
I
love
feel
it.
like Gagne would also be open to that if it was like a handshake deal. Like, hey man,
Yeah.
just come on.
You just got to make sure the NHL doesn't find out.
Well,
coming.
I mean, the NHL hasn't found out about these non-negotiations leading up to free agency.
Yeah,
So,
their heads in the sand. I think we're safe there.
and to wrap things up, I just want to go ahead and mention the third annual Oilers Nation Open out at Cougar Creek coming up on August 29th. It's a Thursday. We are raising money for the Jason Gregor Foundation. It is a great time. Early bird pricing is on until July 10th, so do not procrastinate. I'm going to go ahead and suggest that you pretend the tournament is coming up tomorrow. So you round up your boys, your ladies, whoever you want to play with, enter a team, go to nationgear.ca, get in on the early bird pricing, come and join us and have a great, great day. It is a fun time. We drink too much. We eat too much. We golf poorly. We have a lot of games, a lot of great sponsors, and a lot of great prizes this year. I'm going to tease you guys a little bit. The winners get some cool shit this year.
Yeah,
some
they do.
Really cool shit. And I'm going to be so pumped to see whoever wins the tournament this year sliding on whatever prize you may get. I'm telling you it's cool. I'm telling you it's awesome. Go on out to nationgear.ca, enter your team today. And then I want to wrap up by saying thank you to Sherwood Ford the Giant and our friends at Will Hawk Beef Jerky for making this all possible and letting the five of us yell at each other about Brett Connolly. Thank you for making this happen. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Team depth. Shout out Damien.
Welcome, Brett.
Best wishes.